I sound biased. I'm really unbiased. I was more biased to the fact that I wasn't sure that our older patients would be able to handle the technology and really be able to grasp, what they should do in their care plans, or that I wouldn't have physician support for it, or they would think that we were trying to replace physicians, and that's just not ever going to be the case. We need our physician partners to help us guide the care of the patients and be our partners in creating really positive care plans. And none of those things have been a challenge. We've got patients in their 80s, and our oldest patient is 93. And she runs circles around the rest of us and understands the technology on a smartphone, which was just amazing to me. And so we are in the middle now that we're a year and a month into the study. We have over 700, and I think it's 10 patients as of today enrolled in the study. We have had some that have passed away, so we know that because so many of them are so ill. But I think when you look at the wow cards are cards where our patients can make comments, phenomenal stories, just phenomenal stories and gratitude. We even had patients come to us and said, can we make a testimonial video, which is now, we've recorded the 3 patients, and those are now, it's being combined into about a 4 or 5 minute video that we'll use for marketing the program, both internally to our executive leaderships who have been so supportive, but elsewhere too. And I think when I'm looking at the preliminary outcomes that then we'll have statistical data, I'm really surprised how engaged that patient engagement, that net promoter score. I've asked for a net promoter score from our data analysts, meaning that how did they engage with the app and what changed? I can already tell you that patients who were severely ill had been treated at home. We have one patient that went on a cruise. I love this story. He went on a cruise, COPD. And because he was still using his device, made sure he had the internet, and he could see that even taking his medications that's prescribed, he was starting to get nudges and alerts, like he knew he was kind of, heading downhill, and he knew when to start because of the nudges and alerts and the education from the PDNs, our pulmonary disease navigators. He knew he should start a steroid, and he said it saved his whole trip. There's a gentleman who still believes in the program. He was slated to for an intake consult on a lung transplant at the University of Utah, and he called immediately and said that doesn't mean I have to lead the study and give up these devices, does it? Because I won't get my lung transplant if I have to not have these devices where I can monitor myself at home. And I thought, whoa, it kind of took my breath away, because it was exactly what my mother said she wanted. So she could live this really full, active life, but know when and devices would help her know when she needed to implement her medications in a different way, or to use what we call her emergency pack of steroids and antibiotics. And it touched my heart that this man would feel so strongly about it that he would hold off a lung transplant that he'd been waiting for. We assured him, no. You go for your transplant appointment. We'll always be here. You'll have your devices, and that will just help you keep these new lungs clean, really clean and clear. So just a phenomenal story about how engaged they are. I think, I won't speak as a researcher, a clinical researcher, and say, yeah, it's perfect and we're going to go crazy hog wild. But do I think that they would ever give up their Adherium device? Absolutely not. They won't. Would they give up their MIR Smart one? I don't think so. No. And they really like the technology for grabbing their respiratory rate off their pulse oximeter. And I will tell you honestly, from what I'm seeing from some of the very early preliminary data, from the patient stories, from their request that this become a standard of care, there's been a lot of them that have said this needs to be given to everybody, that I believe as long as our statistical analysis comes out and our financial analysis bears up, I absolutely believe it will be a standard of care. And our Dr. Peter Krosno feels the very same way. It's just been too much good, despite, some of those early challenges with thinking and stuff. It's just been just phenomenal. Previously, our PDNs could take care of about 30 patients a month per PDN. That's about all they could do in the manual world where they were having to make, phone calls, et cetera. And all of the nudges and alerts, no ability to really know. You're kind of shooting in the dark. My PDNs will give this up. They are now taking care of over 100 patients apiece and still able, busy for sure, but still able to provide that high touch personalized care because they're not having to manually try to get data from phone calls from patients, et cetera. So they won't give it up. That I can tell you for sure.